Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 16th of February, 2025. And you've reached the comments video, which always opens with the weather. And the temperature outside right now is 46 degrees at 8:04 a.m. on this Sunday. And it's going to be a very calm wind day. We're going to have nice calm winds until Tuesday. It looks like for a brief time, late afternoon, we bump to 15, 16 miles an hour. So probably not real comfortable sitting out during those 2 hours, but that's not too bad. Then it calms down again the next day. Middle of the road, Thursday, it bumps up to 14 in the afternoon. Then Friday, we're back down again. Saturday, really pretty calm. Sunday, a week from today, very calm. And that Monday, very calm. So that's the wind outlook for the week. Temperature outlook, a high today will be 74 and 79 tomorrow. It gets all the way up. It goes up steadily throughout the week. By a week from tomorrow, we're looking at 86 degrees, followed by 88 and 87. Pretty warm 3 days, the 24th, 25th, 26th. 27th and 28th, it starts coming down, and we're back into the low 80s. Overnight lows are climbing as well, 50 to 55 in the overnight lows. So that's the weather picture. So let's jump into the comments, shall we? Shall we? Comments. Anna's Adventures says, good for you reporting that person that said that ugly comment. I usually ignore and block those people. Thank you for protecting your community from that negativity that acts like cancer and spreads. Keep spreading positivity. She's referring, I usually peruse the comments before I do the video, and the really just hardcore, nasty, trolly, just terrible stuff I get rid of, and I don't even mention, but it was there. I read it, and I said, this is what I do with it. I report it as harassment to YouTube. And let me be clear, I'm not going to repeat the comment, but this isn't just impoliteness. Impoliteness, you don't report to Facebook, but really hardcore, borderline threatening comments can be classified as harassment by YouTube, and the person could get a strike on their channel, I guess, or they could lose their channel. But anyway, it's a good idea, and it also removes and blocks that user from doing that again. So that's what I did there. But I was thinking this morning about the whole, and there was one yesterday again on the dog hair thing, and I tell you, the dog hair thing is so over for me. I'm not bothered at all, like I was in the beginning. I'm not offended, emotionally offended like I was when they were coming through a lot, where people were talking about dog hair on my t-shirts. But it's still offensive. And I was thinking about that. So, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my sort of because I lack the sort of higher emotion that I used to have on it. I'm able to think more intellectually about it. And so the overall topic really is, when is it okay to comment or criticize, not comment, but criticize someone else's appearance? And I think the answer is pretty much never, right? It's not okay to comment. There's that little adage of if someone can correct it in 5 seconds or less, it's okay. And I agree with this. Hey, you have a piece of bread hanging from your beard. I mean, you can say that's critical of appearance, but you're trying to help somebody out, saying, hey, I'd brush it off for you. That's probably a little too personal. But usually you go, oh man, thank you. That's okay. Things that are, things like, saying to someone, I'm really offended by the dog hair on your shirt. in your videos. That's a very different thing. That is that's not a 5-second, hey, you have something hanging from your face kind of comment. And so the intellectual exercises, you know, where do people learn to do that? And I think from their parents, right? Because parents criticize their children's appearance because they're trying to teach them about taking pride in appearance and, you know, take off that dirty shirt. You're not wearing that to school, or that maybe that doesn't go, though that shirt doesn't go with those pants, or whatever the criticisms are part of parenting. So parenting a child, right? So we sort of go out into the world with those sort of personal criticisms, appearance criticisms resonating with us. And so I didn't have very much of that as a kid, but I'm sure I had it. I can't really remember any, but I'm sure it happened. I'm sure I sometimes put on ridiculous things to wear to school, and I was told, go up and change and get out of that. You're not wearing that to school today, kind of thing. But then I realized the lessons I got in adulthood came from a source that wasn't very popular with me, especially early in business, was the human resources department. And as I went through my career, more and more the human resources department became the arbiter of behavior in the workplace. And that the HR took on that role more and more as I progressed through my career. And most of it made a lot of sense. I mean, we all have our complaints where our complaints about human resources where you might get called out for something ridiculous. That's happened a few times in my career. But most of the time, they're spot on. And so you learn in the workplace, hey, there are going to be consequences if you criticize people's appearance in the workplace. So probably don't do that. So that, in a very odd way, there's some parenting as an adult coming from organizations that we'd be part of. And I guess a sociology person would say it's you're being taught norms in an organization. You know, you can make the same argument for being a kid. You're taught norms, and for the same reason, in the same way, as a child in the family organization, right? Some people don't learn that lesson well, and but most of the time they're dealt consequences in face-to-face interactions, where when you deliver it in front of a person, you see the reaction immediately, and you go, "Oh, oof, maybe I shouldn't have said that." And you go, "Sorry, I didn't really mean it," or whatever. People watching this, though, you could say right now, I don't know, there's, you know, I don't know. You'd have to have pretty high definition TV or something to see hair, but I see little tiny hairs on here. And if you said right now, Rob, there's a hair right there, how am I going to respond? Well, I'm not going to respond at all, because this isn't real time. This is me presenting myself on a video, on a YouTube video. And if you decide you're going to deliver that criticism, you're going to type it out, and you're not going to get the benefit of that immediate feedback. You might not get any feedback at all, or you may get feedback from me the next day and realize, oh, he was offended by that. And some people don't care. Other people, like a recent one, said, oh, I didn't realize I offended you. I'm sorry. So there's a dynamic on social media, YouTube, Facebook. So we're all communicating somewhat in this way. I mean, if you have a YouTube channel, you're doing it far more than the average person, but the average person with an Instagram account or Facebook is putting themselves out there, not necessarily in videos, but maybe just pictures of themselves, and they become subject to those kinds of criticisms. There's a young band called, and correct me if I'm wrong, it comes up on my Facebook feed all the time for some reason, but they're teenagers that have this band where they do 60s and 70s rock pieces. Burning the Jukebox, I think what they're called. And I think it's 4 guys and 1 girl, and the girl's the bass player. And they're a big social media presence, and one of the things they combat is this constant criticism from people, adults, in particular adult males, criticizing the appearance of this teenage girl, which is just blows my mind that it happens. But she gets on there on social media and she addresses that, and like, I'll put the comment up and say, it's okay to criticize her music, request things. It's not okay to criticize my appearance. Very calmly she says it, and she does it over and over again because it's not really letting up. And that tells me something very significant about sort of the inflection point that we're at in our society. So anyway, that's where my head was going this morning. I don't know if you find that interesting or not. I do. I think I'm fascinated by things like that. So off the topic, on to more comments. So the next one is Cotty Wample says, I'm not sure why someone would comment so negatively other than to troll. Reporting is definitely way to go on that one. Not only did it involve personal attacks, it was just so dark in their thinking. Yeah, it was. Now we're off to different things. We're off to Subway. Haas says, hey, Rob, Dottie, and George, on your Subway comment, I go to the same Subway every time I get a sandwich, and I notice the bread not being as good as in the past. I asked the manager, and that Subway had changed their initial times for baking the bread to an earlier time. So I had to adjust my time to fit their baking schedule. I visit them right before lunch and get fresh bread now. Who'd have thought? That makes sense, because the bread I'm getting sort of tastes old. It's dry, and if you're baking bread on site in, I guess there are preservatives and things you could put in to make it feel fresh longer, but they're probably not doing that. They're probably trying to make the best bread that they can, but if it's on the shelf too long, it's going to be dry. And if you start throwing out bread after 2 hours or something, you're going to start losing money. It's a tough thing. The ideal thing would be to bake bread to order, but that would take a long time, wouldn't it? Tom Frost. So after figuring out your black water problem, I bet you were pooped. Yes, Tom, I was pooped. James P. Few things I don't do in this forum is name call or talk about politics and religion. Well, that's good. Dee Dee Cornell says, good morning, Mr. Rob, Dottie, and George. Ryan Harrison says, good morning, Rob, Dottie, and George. Do you boondock in the summer, or do you go full hookups? Thank you for the videos. They're full of information for our viewers. Well, I have an interesting arrangement in the summer that started the end of the last half of last summer, started in July of last year up in Eagle Nest. I stay with the blessing of the owner of an RV park. She has an adjacent piece of property that's an open field, and I boondock out there, and she runs a 30 amp cord out to me that's hooked to a meter so I can use electricity. Now, there's no water, but on the other hand, about 50 yards from my door is the edge of the RV park, which right there is an outbuilding with a full toilet in there. So you can imagine that I can go a long time without having to, pump my black tank out and dump that. So it's part. The answer is, Do I boondock? Kind of. If I didn't have that electric line going out there, it would definitely be boondocking. So it's kind of half and half. Really good question, though. D.D. Cornell's, we're digging out here in Wisconsin. I'll take wind over snow. Oh yeah, I spent enough time in the Northeast in my life. I don't want to deal with snow anymore. On my positive news video, language barrier marriage, Ken Gray says, across the divide, love wins. Ken Gray says, here in Central Florida, it's gotten only a little cooler. Last night it was 68. Then Ken says again, on people giving you medical advice, I always remember the best way to message it up is ask everyone how to do it. And Ken's right. I sort of did that in the last video, I think. I was talking about my blood pressure. Also, I was talking about a supplement I gave, I'm giving to Dottie, and I'm soliciting advice. And Ken's saying, that's probably not the greatest thing to do. He's very gentle about it, but what he's really saying is, and especially your own medical stuff, you should do kind of your own research. Don't ask people on social media, and he's right. He's right. Ken Gray says, for the 12-volt converter, I got mine by searching AC to DC 12-volt 20-amp converter, so I'm glad you found one. I did find one, and on his advice, I canceled the 15-amp one and upgraded to a 20-amp one. He had a really good point. D.D. Cornell says, thanks for showing and sharing the everyday life challenges of being full-time RVer. You're welcome. Virginia Hankey said, wow, that's the language barrier marriage. They fell in love without speaking each other's language really at all. D.D. Cornell says, hi, Mr. Rob and Dottie. JT Wanderer says, thank you, Rob. I got out of the habit of watching your channel because I'm off the road right now, but I'm back because your videos are a refreshing antidote for constantly watching the news. I love seeing Dottie's happy walks. Thanks again. Ed Godby says, sweat is the cologne of success. What about hawks? Aren't they dangerous? By the way, what made you get into this lifestyle? I could not figure out why Tom Frost was talking about hawks. It's like, I looked at the video. I'm like, when did I talk about hawks and birds or anything like that? And so I said something. I won't go through all the replies, and there was a whole thread, but Ken got on there and said, in your video, you stopped and you warned a guy about coyotes in the area in the morning. So he's talking about hawks being something dangerous for your dog too. And then, then I got the connection. But I've been having a lot of trouble the past couple of days, haven't I? Really understanding some comments and where they're coming from. They seem obscure to me, but maybe it's just me, I guess. But they're no big hawks snatching little dogs out in the desert here that I've ever heard of. So this is kind of a nasty comment that I meant to delete, but I replied to it instead. RH3356 says, racism is alive in this country with 4 question marks. And he says it's people like you who keep it going. And I said, I'm pretty sure that describes you. And he replies again. He says, really, this is your reply? When you tell people all of the time they are victims, they will be victims. One idiot says and does something stupid, so you want to tell people that a vast majority is racist. Newsflash, they are not. And I'm going to guess he's misunderstanding what I said. It was on a video about a guy that grew up in the South and self-admittedly had very racist views about black people. And as an adult, he had a heart attack and he almost died. And when he woke up, he discovered his surgeon was a black man. It was very kind to him. And what he said was, this changed my views and changed my outlook about race. And I changed how I was. And I thought it was a great story. And what I said, though, was I got some real nasty comments about that. There were clearly racist comments. And I said, wow, I got these comments. So racism is still alive. And racism is still alive. I think things are better than they were. We had the civil rights movement, and I think overall things have gotten better over time, but racism still exists. And I think that I'm not going to condemn this guy for what he said. I really think it's a misunderstanding of my comment and the position I was taking. When you tell people all the time they are victims, they will be victims. And of course, I didn't say that, but that's his interpretation. And I wasn't telling anyone that they were victims, but I get it. I really do, that what he was saying. So hopefully he'll maybe listen to this. I'm not going to continue to respond to it, because it just, on that sensitive a thing, when you start typing back and forth, and I probably shouldn't have replied in the first place. I just should have probably let it go. It's a complicated thing. And kind of sad too. Ken Gray says, Dottie has been too busy looking out the window to post for the camera. Nice sandwich. Yeah, wasn't that a great sandwich? That was Mean Maggie's gourmet cheese, grilled cheese place. Then it was I get the same one every time. I can't help myself. It's a big menu, but the one at the top is bacon, tomato, and avocado. I have it on sourdough with Swiss cheese. Oh, it's so good. Jeff Engel says, thanks for the warning about the coyotes. He's the guy that I was talking to on the video. Great welcome from you and my old dog Shiloh. In Texas, that was Jeff Engel. And Texas John Trading, where do you go during the summer? And I say Eagle Nest, New Mexico. Fred Fegan, Rob, please go lighter color. Oh, never mind. Darfur, I really enjoy your channel and content. You have a pleasant, caring personality, and so do Dottie and George. I don't know that George has all that pleasant a personality. George, do you? George will, like in the morning, I'll wake up and George will be really right next to me purring. And, half the time I'll put out my hand to pet George and he'll go scratch and bite. George. Not seriously bite, but you know what I mean. You share so much good information and tips. I hope you have a successful surgery soon, that you're no longer in pain. Me too, but thanks for that thought. I appreciate that. Robert Baylor says, hi, Rob. Your tip on carrying a spare water pump is spot on. We used to carry other spare items, but unfortunately, we never thought to have a backup pump. That would have saved us a lot of pain on one of our trips when ours failed and we started leaking water into the RV. We hope you're feeling okay and your BP stays in the safe zone. I unfortunately have many years of experience personally with BP medications to control my own BP. I was a little taken aback when you mentioned additional BP medication. It's a legacy medication that can have serious side effects when used long term. As you figured out, that medication will force down your pressure maybe a little too much. Next time you take your readings, try taking them sitting down after a few minutes, then stand up. I'm not going to read the rest of it. It's just a kind of, unless you're really into controlling your BP, it's very specific instructions on taking your BP. Tom Journey says, great video, my friend. I got the best tip of my life when a customer gave me 10 years of razor replacements. That's like $600. Wow. I'm just finally getting to the end of that. If you're using the ones I do that cost me $60, that would be $600. And you do it every year, that's $600. Let us know if you notice any difference in Dottie eating that supplement. If it helps her, I may try it for Journey. Well, I started giving Dottie the supplement for dinner last night, and we'll take a look at how things come out this morning. And She didn't seem to mind the taste. It didn't slow her down any eating dinner. Lisa says, imagine having worlds open to you because you can now read. Way to go, Ted. And that was a few days ago. It's never too late, about a guy that learned to read as an adult. Also, she commented on language barrier marriage. Love does indeed win. Then Kathy Weber says, yep, I have a brand new spare water pump figure. I'll be happy someday to have it. And I got to take my own advice. I got to buy another spare. Oh, actually, no, I do. I still have a spare. I know where it is, too. This time when it broke, I didn't use the spare because I knew I could get one in town pretty easily for close enough price to Amazon. So I did that. So I still have my spare. Robert Ballard says, OMG, that sandwich looks so good. We're gonna stop there on our next trip through the area. It's one of the best experiences about Quartzsite is the good food places. Once you've tried a couple of these locations, you forget all about fast food joints. Thanks again, Rob. You are the man. Donna Aparo. You go, girls. Changing that water pump. Happy laundry day, Rob and Dottie. I'm back home. I miss Basic Deli in front of the laundromat. She has the best blueberry muffins. Yum. Yeah, that lady that is behind the counter in the cafe and the laundromat. That's the owner of the whole. It's not only the laundry. There's also an RV park. So it's a whole complex. She owns that. Very nice woman. Joe Gertsima. Rob, I'm enjoying your videos for the 24-25 camping season at Quartzsite. Your routine camping functions are interesting and your explanation about the area is appreciated. One thing I've wondered about is how do you keep the rodent inside of your camper since it's stationary for so many months? Just curious. Again, thank you for all your work in the videos. Well, I've never had a rodent problem in Quartzsite. I did an eagle nest, though, because I was camped out in a field. And there were lots of rodents, and I had rodent damage in my wiring in my truck. And I did research, and I found that peppermint is a good deterrent for rodents. And you ask, well, what research did you do that led you to that conclusion? And it was one video that convinced me. What this guy did is he had a cardboard box and he put peanut butter in the cardboard box and put a little entryway for mice to go in. And he had a camera mounted at night, and you could see the mice coming in one after another going to eat the peanut butter. The next night, he put some drops of peppermint oil inside the box. And what you saw on the camera was the mice would come up to the entrance, stop, and they wouldn't go in. Not one went into the box, so that convinced me. So there are lots of products out there that are designed to put in engine compartments. And so I've got two different kinds. I've got one that mounts inside the engine it's disposable. You got to change it every few months. But they're inside near where the wiring harness is. And then I have they're like balls. They're like peppermint mothballs. And I have those inside the compartments of my trailer. So, and I have George. If a mouse ever actually gets in here, George will take care of business. Independent Man was there for a hot shower yesterday and decided to try Basics Deli next door. It was excellent. I had the roast beef sandwich. The ladies there were very nice too. If you haven't tried them yet, I recommend them. And like I said, it's great. So I had a positive news. I got a couple comments on today's positive news video. My title was "No Clue This Was a Thing," and it was a beautiful little story about a little girl with a cleft palate who looks different from other kids, and she was having a rough time. And she asked an innocent question of her mother. They said, "Do doggies have cleft palates too?" And the mother's like, "I don't know." So she did some research and found out not only do dogs have cleft palates, there was a rescue nonprofit organization that specialized in, get this, in adopting dogs born with cleft palates because they can't nurse very well and they need special care. And not only did they take care of these dogs with cleft palates, it's with the mission of not only taking care of them, but connecting them to humans that have cleft palates. So that's what they did with this little girl, and it made a world of difference to her. So RV Life says, great story, thanks for sharing. And Randy says, so very sweet and heartwarming. So that's today's comment video. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you tomorrow.